Hi, everybody, and welcome. I am Haley Mitchell-Haugen. I am the editor of Sheila-Na-Gig Online and Sheila-Na-Gig Editions. And tonight we are here to celebrate Lane Falcon and the publication of her book, Deep Blue Oz. It's been out for a little while now, not too long, a few weeks. And so we're really excited to have this book out into the world. And after Lane reads, we will be hearing from a number of contributors from our newly released spring issue of Sheila-Na-Gig Online, currently finishing up our 10th year of publication online. So it's been a great celebration year, and we have a super lineup for tonight. So thank you all for being here. So Lane Falcon. Lane has been in at least one or two issues on Sheila-Na-Gig Online. I think that's how we kind of came across each other, right? And then her book was selected from our open call for manuscripts that we did a couple summers ago now. I'm just very excited. I love this beautiful cover of the work, and the poems inside are just heart-wrenching and urgent and special, and just so excited to have this book out in the world. I'm going to read you a blurb from the back of the book so you get a little bit of the feel for it that Teresa Sonato Edwards wrote, and she's here tonight. So I'm just going to read your blurb, Teresa. Okay. So Lane Falcon's Deep Blue Oz takes us into a mother's surveillance of and perseverance and love for her children. Her son's first few years of life challenged as he, quote, arrives in a mold too small to hold this cosmic injury. His paralyzed airway. Striking imagery and surprising metaphor flourish as we are drawn further into Falcon's poetic narrative of illness, medical necessity, and hope for a family not ready to give up as they live inside an eye, the cornea receiving dull morning light. And illness meets faith as mother speaker grapples with how long it will take for her son to breathe on his own and speak, for her daughter to forgive herself for not being the superhero who could cure her brother, and for all of them to learn how to thrive even though they live amid the most astounding odds. Thank you for that wonderful blurb, Teresa. I really think it captures so much of the heart of the book. And just a little bit about Lane herself from her bio here. Lane Falcon's poems have been published in American Review Journal, the Carolina Quarterly, Cream City Review, Harbor Review, the Healing Muse, the Journal, Medmic, New York Quarterly, Ninth Letter, Poet Lore, Poetry South, Rhino, Quarter After 8, Rust and Moth, Sheila-Na-Gig Online, Spoon River Poetry Review, Swim Every Day, Tar River Review, and more, right? So these poems have already been out in the world quite a bit, and her other work too, and it's just so nice to have them collected here in this collection. Deep Blue Oz was also a finalist for the Black Lawrence Press Hudson Prize and a semi-finalist for the 2022 Tupelo Press Berkshire Prize. So I'm very lucky to have this book, right, and to be able to offer it to the world. Sorry you didn't win those prizes, but I'm still happy that it landed on my desk, right, because it very clearly is an amazing collection.
Thank you.
So, Lane, so happy to have you here. Welcome, and go ahead and take it away for us.
Okay. So thank you. Thank you very much for choosing Deep Blue Oz and for putting this together. I know I'm a fundraiser in my day-to-day life, and putting events together is not easy. So, and you have another job, Haley. So awesome for you. Thank you. I wrote these poems during the first 4 years of my son's life. He was born with a critical medical condition that necessitated a tracheostomy. And I am a single mother. So with the help of my mother, who's actually on this call, thank you, Mom, was able to parent my son and my daughter, his 2-year-old. She was 2 years old at the time, but his older sister. So it was just a very I know trauma is a buzzword, but that's the easiest way to explain it. It was a very traumatic event, finding out that he had to get the tracheotomy, and then the years that followed, having nurses in the house all the time, and it turned our worlds upside down. So my son is wonderful, my daughter's wonderful, and I'm very grateful that they both made it through this okay. But the poems in this book just sort of express that. So I will get into it now, and I'm planning it. They're pretty. Most of the poems are pretty short. I like relatively short. They're not super short, but they're relatively short. So I'm going to try and get through like 7 of them in chronological order in the book. But I just don't want anyone to feel like they're going to be here forever. If I'm in the middle and I still don't look done. Okay, so the first poem is called Lightness. Lightness. Envy the nurses who lord over him like sons, lift wires from his body and prop them, inches off the skin with upturned diapers, who lift him, a bundle of grapes, to change the pillowcase he sleeps on from Mickey Mouse out to play to robots, who hand me the old one to take home and wash. If I were the nurse who slides the thermometer across his forehead, places a rolled hospital blanket between his blue knees. If it were me scanning the serial code on the plastic anklet he wears, the one that matches mine, before giving the sedative or painkiller, the paralytic or diuretic. If I poured vial after vial of the breast milk I pump into the feeding bag, I would leave here at night. I too would touch with extreme lightness, as if parting a giant's hair. This is called Interlude with Daughter. And both these poems I wrote them like the first few days he was in the hospital after receiving the trach. So that's why they're urgent, because they were written as kind of a lifeline to try and figure out what was going on. So this is about my daughter, who was a trooper the whole time, and who was my, God bless her. She was really strong throughout all of it. Interlude with Daughter. At Cox Farm, the cows lie by the fence, the black one lifting her forehead while I trace the spiral of fur between her eyes. My 2-year-old daughter arrives at my shoulder and reaches between the iron bars of the gate to touch this dust-covered vault of a mammal. Our hands pass amorphous human worry into the cowlick where the fur begins. And again, what looks back at me is the boundary I crossed, the curtain of my son's body. The moment the doctor first pulled out the endoscope, said, "This is making me very nervous." What presents itself is the film, the membrane separating word from meaning. How I stare at the curtain in his hospital room, a prism of multicolored squares. Cheery, I think, despite knowing better. Then, I'm not really here, am I? This isn't a curtain, but a symbol for something else. Okay. This one is called trach care. And trach care is like just the common way of saying, like, when you have in any nursing type situation, when you're taking care of the trach, obviously. So with babies, it's a whole like routine. So this is trach care. Baby blanket rolled under his shoulders so his head drops back. He exposes his neck, the tulip of the tracheostomy tube, the split of gauze I fit under, the neonate rubber collar damp with milk. No one should have to endure the constant baring of his throat, this hole I can't let close. I pinch the plastic stem so it won't shift, wipe away stickiness, dry and replace with fresh gauze to prevent breakdown. This new ritual less than 5 minutes. And he sleeps, a kind of forgiveness. Okay, this is called Swan Song. And this poem was written, he went through a major airway reconstruction surgery that ultimately failed. So it was a brutal experience for him and for everyone, really. So this is called Swan Song. Imagine a life bent over a caterpillar, inching its way across the bike path. The millions of mocha strands of fur, coagulated, combed to untouchable fluff. I listen to him grunt when he breathes. Numbers on the monitor bleat and blink. Only I know his rhythm, deeper when he sleeps, as his breath slides along its continuum. And if it takes my whole life, I'll guard his song. I'll wait for him. Um, this is called Escape from Cincinnati. I still haven't gone back to that place. The vacuousness I felt while they dripped fentanyl into my son's bloodstream after a second failed reconstruction surgery. How I'd go on a panic run every morning in a city where opiates reigned, where a man fell to his knees, a woman froze under the overpass. In the waiting room, a grandmother cried, her daughter just dead from overdose, her grandson just waking from general anesthesia. How messed up it felt that night when I begged the nurse to give him more. Enough to sustain him, dull his pain and mine, his pupils blooming with fear when he started to wake. How small a measure they lent, how small the graces we get when we're rowing in grief. This is called Warrior. Wires stream from his scalp. All the primary colors, like the tracks of the toy maze in the intake office. He pushed each wooden bead along, talking, smiling when the woman behind the desk snuck him 2 Hot Wheels cars, when he walked against my warning to her knees. Now the EEG tech wraps his head in gauze, guides the tangle of wires through a sleeve that hangs down his back. This will be his burden for the next 10 hours. At his side while he sleeps, the ends feeding the machine's giant cord. Tonight you're a superhero, the tech says, but he won't look up. It scares me, this new stoicism, the not letting me touch him when mummified again by medicine and its machines. Even when I wrap him in his favorite blanket, lift his saddled head and lay it on his home pillow, he doesn't look at me. He barely moves. The common betrayal of the life he loves, he swallows. I have 2 more left. This is called After Decannulation. And decannulation is when they remove the tracheostomy. So finally he had a surgery that took, and he was able to get the trach out. After decannulation, there will always be one who pulls you to the edge by the neck. His happiness, a trophy I hold by the neck and champion above my head. The child I hold closer, his skin still slick. This boy I fished from the deep blue odds, who I kept whole and breathing. And this is the final poem I'm going to read, and it's the poem, the second to last poem in the book. And it's called At Ronald McDonald House, Annual Check-in. Bless the ramp on the sidewalk where parents push strollers with ventilators hanging off the back. Where once I lugged the go bag and suction machine while my son slept, a tube in his nose and a fresh scar across his rib. Bless the business center where I yelled into my phone to the surgeon who wouldn't release his notes, wouldn't bleed into the cracks of the misery all his good intention had afflicted. Bless one more day I don't need to rush my son to the ER across the street. No surgery has failed. No waiting for the intern to ask him questions he'll deflect to the absent attending. Bless the bells that alarm, the laminated code blue instructions in every room, the refrigerator where parents store cold medicine. Bless the Reds mascot who once leaned over my son's stroller and silently held his hand. Bless the pilot who followed us off the plane later to hand him a pin he let slide to the side of the stroller with all the other prizes he'd earned for his pain. Bless the ache in my neck, the muscles bunched from waking all night, praying to a God I didn't think launched my son's chest creak in and out. Bless this house blooming with parents' desperate prayers. And bless this sleeping boy. Dear God, bless this boy who arrived on the other side of this place, who has yet to hold it in his hands, to feel the weight of it.
Thank you, Lane. I'm so happy you read that one. I was going to request it if you didn't. That was one of my favorite poems in the book, of so many favorites.
Thank you. And I just wanted to say before I forget, I was thinking, this came to my mind like midway as I was reading them. Thank you to Claire Brandt, who did the beautiful painting on the front. And thank you to Teresa Sonato Edwards, who's here, for the blurb on the back. I just wanted to shout them out.
Thank
So
you,
I don't go
Lane.
to bed tonight and I'm like, oh my God. Yeah.
Oh, it's an honor. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Claire. I didn't realize you were here. So, yeah, so beautiful, this artwork, and it's just really, it just makes the book so lovely, with these lovely poems to match. So, if you're joining us late, we are celebrating Lane Falcon and the publication of her poetry book, Deep Blue Odds. So, just great to have you here, Lane. And now we're going to switch gears and we're going to move into our invited mic portion of the reading. We have 10 readers from Sheila-Na-Gig Online's spring issue. And we're going to start with Jeff Harden, who has appeared a number of times in our pages. So great to have you here, Jeff. And why don't you take it away for us?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, the poem I'm going to read is in the current issue. Some mornings I wake exhausted. I could go back to sleep. I really could. Look at time. It's utterly exhausting. I've lived in 7 cities so far and know but a handful of people, and at this point will likely live out my days in obscurity, visiting a park's pond but not studying the ducks moving in circles, or choosing a thin volume from my shelves and clinging to a few words, floating along toward a precipitous plunge. Everyone, everywhere, must wonder what the point of living is, how the whole thing seems arbitrary. One man's burst of genius gone at 22, all the absence of what he might have created. Another man's dull life a series of trauma and blunders lasting 90 years. Sometimes bitterness has time to turn into joy, or vice versa. Other days, there's no way to turn left out of a neighborhood, and traffic moves nonstop without a break for 10 minutes. And it's easy to see how a people might kill other people just because they can, then take their things without remorse. I always marveled when reading of people feasting, tables full of fattened calves, fish, turkey, pheasant, every vegetable in its own bowl, spoons dripping with grease, a fellowship, while elsewhere someone else was near starving, making a porridge, a people displaced without manna falling around them. It's odd the rituals we maintain, even more so those we defend, long past when they should have been abandoned. Not all our thoughts are grammatical nor easily placed beside others' thoughts. We're poor translators, too, of every word that passes our lips, most of them not the ones we would have chosen to speak, aching as we do for a language beyond any we currently imagine. I try to keep a small song in mind, now and then a phrase sung onto the wind, more of a whisper, so that no one will happen along and steal it for themselves or turn it against me. It's a purifying song, aimed at my heart. I'm tired, though, and have been for a long time, longer than geologic time, longer than theological time, a millennium, an eon. The earth whispered its signature to me as I lay down in a field one midnight, and the universe above me drew near. And then, for a while, no one as witness, I leapt from star to star. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jen Koretnik. I am one of Haley's forthcoming authors, which is always like such a pleasure. And it's always so nice to be published in Sheila-Na-Gig. It feels like a community, and I'm so grateful to be here. So I'm going to read the one poem that came out in the recent issue, and then I'm going to do another short poem that just came out today. And 1 second. Okay. In Search of Resonance. How much of my life is echo? I see joy, so I stamp it on my face. I witness gratitude, so I name it, credit it as my own. I chase glory through the visas of others who learned the route. In a photo I find online, a row of obelisks levitates, tails off into the desert. Underneath, smudges of their shadows track, but overhead, the same shapes leap awry like plumes from an invisible fire, as if what parrots below ricochets above. What can I learn from this, if not that I am either reflection or refraction, always in the service of a far greater light? And this next one is a little bit more political, and also a little bit more literal, I guess. Cemetery of Truths. My neighbor makes his lawn ready for Halloween with skeletons in fatal postures, pierced with hatchets, swords, and arrows, and labeled due process, right to peacefully assemble, birthright citizenship. Near the porch, an upright carcass advertising free vaccines crossed out. Questionable science and bad advice presides over tufts of dolls scattered like the patches of sunburned St. Augustine grass, their malleable limbs splotched scarlet. On the other side of the walkway, two masked figures hold water pistols over another grouping of toys. There's more. Ice Barbie, SCOTUS, and Florida's governor modeled with wigs and robes. A swimsuited skeleton on a lounge chair reading the Epstein files under a beach umbrella. But what I see on my daily walk is not just his risk of receiving raw eggs, stones, bullets hurled in response, but how each plastic model is built and burnished to withstand the elements. Yet the signs themselves are mere paper and markers, dislodged by storms, smeared and disintegrating before my eyes. Thank you.
Hi, this is Ellen Stone, and I'm coming to you from Ann Arbor, Michigan, where this is the second time I've been in Sheila-Na-Gig, and my poem that's in this issue is called Under the Flower Moon, which I actually wrote during the pandemic and oddly find it pretty optimistic based on how I feel this spring. This is called Under the Flower Moon. Beware these lush arms unfolding into you, hesitant spring. Call me extraneous, coiled tongue of spotted adder, rogue rose. Powder my roots to lighten your hair. Wild vines crisscrossing little gray box filled with electricity have swallowed the chain link fence, now wave spidery off the smooth edge of the drain spout. Old dog lies on a picnic-colored fleece, stretched like a woman curled into herself, sun streaming over her brown housecoat. Electric heater fan hums, whirring like a reverent priest. Brilliant appliance. Shed, barn dirty, as if mud-spattered mammals clomp in, out, filling the backyard. Or rain off the roof. Earth slides down, splats doors. Where are the chickens clucking and pecking their herky-jerky squeeze-box dance? Willow branch girls bending near lampposts, streetlights. Night done. Laugh to the moon, purring a sing-song. Lying on grass, stoop-sitting. Come ring these swinging bells with us. And then I just have a little poem called Preparing from my last book that I wrote a long time ago about my girls. Raking leaves at dusk, uncovering spring. Started yesterday, but the rain came on. Streetlights, those two persistent stars, keep shining. Over the rise, all the weary cars going on and on. Yesterday, a man walked by the garden fence, picked up a painted stone the girls tucked there, gazed at it, moving it round in his palm like something priceless. I swallowed stones before I slept, and all night sank into a future too heavy to carry. How do you keep stones from sinking like that, I wonder? How do you hold the wild shoots of spring inside you instead? Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Bruce Christensen. I'm from New Zealand, but tonight I'm coming to you from about 20 miles north of London. I'm going to read two short poems from the spring issue of Sheila-Na-Gig, and the first one's called Misplaced Letters. But it's not clear that it's just the letter that was misplaced. The nights are cooler now and less oppressive. Through the open window in the distance, tower blocks shine floodlit like ships at anchor. Book half read, your note an undomesticated flower, pressed, forgot between the pages. Disconnected passage back into a haven with a different moonstruck view. The second poem's called The Spirit Has Moved. No, she doesn't live here anymore. I don't know where she went. She didn't say. Letters for her still come through the door from time to time. I mark them gone away and send them back, but there are other halls where letters lie unforwarded and unread. Faded wallpaper upon the walls, except for squares of pattern by her bed where pictures used to hang. Instead, dust dances in the light of what has passed and missed, or might have been, but there I'll take my chances. A born-again but lapsed revivalist who still from time to time hands round the snakes, but tells himself it's just for old sakes. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mary Beth Hines, and this is my first time in Sheila-Na-Gig and first time at one of these events, and I'm just delighted to be part of it. And I am so happy, Haley, that you do this because it brings the issue alive in a way that it doesn't from just reading it. So thank you. All right, I have two poems in this, two short poems. I'm going to read both of them. The first one, Polaris, begins with an epigraph. There are now 5 directions: north, south, east, and west, and the online blue dot, you, Jerry Broughton, 4 points of the compass. Polaris, centered, demagnetized, blue ship star in my own night sky, and you, my love, in yours, our shared true north eclipsed by Google Maps' tech god crafted world. And I'm compelled to engage, even as I weigh modernity's ease against star charts, bird flight, and you, my once keen navigator, through strange cities' labyrinthine streets, down the winter Kangamangas, all earth-bound grit, blind faith, frayed maps. If I could, I'd trade satellites for sun cycles, swap proof for divination, herd-sourced alerts for your warm touch. Though it's heady to be a pole star, abiding Stella Maris, and able to place you, day or night, near or far, Delphic blue dot, drifting, pulsing like a heart. And the second of these poems is titled Evening Swim with Cormorants. 3 long-necked silhouettes perch on October boulders. Elegantly curved treble clefs evoke water music, wind. One readies wings for stretch into a migratory V. Another scans the seabed, tracks fall's last scattering crabs. The third eyes the horizon for a sign of which I might be one. Wetsuit sleek as a seal, I stroke legato, staccato, toured. Finally drift eye to eye with them, sentinel ghosts in the cool gloom, all of us awash in that sepia pause between after and almost. Thank you.
That was beautiful, Mary Beth. Thank you so much, Haley. It's wonderful to be part of Sheila-Na-Gig. I'm excited about a book coming out in really soon in April from Sheila-Na-Gig, and I'll read a poem from that, and then also I'll read the poem from the current issue of Sheila-Na-Gig. So the book is called Sister in a Different Movie, and it's dedicated to my sister Claire, who died a couple of years ago, and this is about what happened. A gated community. Claire loved the security of the guard and the gate lifting for her car, keeping her safe, until the night she immersed in a hot bath and her heart seized. She sank down, drowned, the water still running from the taps, water overflowing the tub, seeping under the door, soaking the rug, water deepening for 2 weeks until it wept through the neighbor's wall. Then came police, breaking the locked door of her life, finding she'd escaped to a place beyond water where she'll always feel safe. My sister, who loved real estate, at peace beyond the gates. And this poem, this was about this Thanksgiving, how I felt on Thanksgiving Day. It's called A Small Mercy. It's Thanksgiving Day, and you're standing under the raw oaks, the wind lifting their leaves like loose scraps of an old argument, the dark earth breathing its cold breath up the back of your neck. When it hits, the thought shaped like a fist to the sternum, and you bend around it, the sobs coming up dry and hard, as if your ribs were trying to shake something loose. The leaves slap the frozen ground like small repeated punishments. Somewhere, a life once braided to yours is moving farther into the world beyond your reach. And you lift your face to the heavy sky, as if it might split open and tell you, in this subtraction, this cold arithmetic, where the thanks is meant to live. And then you remember your loved one, the one you chose, waiting at home, stirring your favorite soup, a small mercy warming on the stove. And now, even in dull November, look how the sun reaches down through bare branches, touches your face. Thank you.
Those were so gorgeous, and all of the poems are. My name's Laura Donnelly, and I'm in upstate New York, and this was my first time being in Sheila-Na-Gig, and I feel like I've just stumbled into the most amazing poetry community. This is the best Thursday night, so thank you. I'm going to read a poem in the spring issue and then one other poem. This is Morning Prayer. Let me be quiet. Let me be becalmed, and not fighting against the lack of wind, the lolling boat, but peering into the blue sea until it becomes not blue, but a passing through of jellyfish, translucent, iridescent, so delicate they make the most sense in glass, but only if, in glass, you can still imagine movement. The velvet water passing over, the rice paper skin, and no brain but a nerve that lets them take in the world and turn through the light. Imagine the young naturalist leaning over the edge of the boat. One body stalled, another and another turned rainbow under the waves. And then I'll read one other one. So that was kind of a poem leaning into calm. This one goes in another direction, but I feel like they live in the same world. So this one is titled "Perimenopause at the Edge of the World and/or Neighborhood on Garbage Day." Windswept and worried. No new snow all night, but the same snow rushed this way and that over frozen hard ground, snow fine and impenetrable as diamond particles and drifting like sand across porch light. December 30th. As if a date might ground us on a single plane, set the stars into their particular time signatures, never mind one year's end might calm, while another's gust these winds the weather people keep warning about. I heard it in the middle of the night, the middle of my life, something like a garbage can tumbling end over end 1 yard to the next. I lay there checking off what I had secured, what I had not, awake, already sweating my body's work to change, which sounds grander than what it is. Pack of hormones gone haywire, a whole street of cans tumbling end over end through my body. I don't mean to sugarcoat it. Why I love this wide awakeness, this wild awakeness, at the edge of my body, caught up in its own global weirding. I have only ever wanted to be so present and have more often than not failed. The electricity flickers off, on, twice. Furnace and refrigerator silent a moment, then whirring back to life. All those machines in the background, we don't notice until they're gone, then back, and we're not untouched by any of it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Meryl Douglas, and I feel I'm a first-time contributor to Sheila-Na-Gig, and I feel very lucky to be able to hear all of your poems. This is great. I am also from upstate New York, near Binghamton in my case. I will read the poem that I have in this issue and then just a short one after that. This one makes reference, it includes the phrase, the past is a real place, and I took that from a poem by Linda Paston called Yardside Candle. I forget how old I am. When I think of the layers and layers of days I've lived so far, I see magazines stacked in a hoarder's apartment, cans of corn and chow mein, clothes outgrown, worn out, or not worn once. On better days, the world is still so fresh, its ink rubs off on my fingers. Fair enough. I wipe those stains on my sweater and move on. One creased map, one bag of red pistachios will get me anywhere. If the past is a real place, how do I reach it? Not by metro, not on foot. And think how shy I'd feel, dumb tourist, lacking even the words for please and help me. At 12 or so, when my friends and I stopped on our walk to the movies, I picked up the smallest potato chip bag the store sold, then sat in the dark and tasted the salt grains one by one. Moon stark, the searchlight, the CT scan spills on my insides. Pocked plains, rifts and ridges, no place I know how to find, picked out on a map for anyone's eyes. What's bothering the rain? I wish I weren't so stumbly, brain made of thumbs. How I'd love to hold one slim thought in my lips like a silver whistle. Montreal. My favorite meal is in a Hungarian place so small I share a table with two college girls. Pink nails, pink phones, quick French. I spoon my petal-colored borscht and look around and smile at the walls. Each day a clean start, fragrant, crisp to the teeth, a carrot tugged from dreamless sleep in the earth with a nonchalant spin of the wrist to rip the root hairs. Sheep in the heavens, grazing cumulus flock, why can't I learn to shut my mouth and lie still, watch you drift, while crickets scratch another summer off my life list? And then just a short one called Woman in the Shower. I'm free to belt out uptown funk here, lean my forehead on the tiles and let the beating water melt my senses. Nothing left to know but heat. It's where I scrub the sweat or sex or dead skin from my creases, oil from my scalp, rinse chlorine from a swimsuit, sponge the dreams from gluey corridors behind my eyes. Missed opportunities and deadlines circle down the drain. There's so much rain this year. Why waste regret on what I use? I'll stand for an hour, or two if I want. Forget the name of anyone who's ever needed me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And my name's Mike Friedman. I'm reading from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And I too am a first-time person with Sheila-Na-Gig, and have been really impressed with the poems I've heard. And I want to thank Haley for organizing this. The two poems I'm going to read are both in the spring issue. So the first poem is titled Mobius Light. Death as a knot tied into itself, squeezing until it uncoils from its birth configuration, unhinged and loose upon the wind, to be captured as remembrance. yard side of spring or cicada summer. Excuse me. Doves startled wing chirping from maple branches at both dusk and dawn, the low light ending and beginning each day. And the second poem I'm going to read, excuse me, is titled Tubes. The jungle gym became high when I peered down through the parallel tubes at my mother standing below. Her face arched up at me as her eyes sucked and sucked through the straws of their fear, straining to pull my untried soul down to her. In that moment, I almost gave up my newfound wind, but urged the rungs to flatten, to shut her out like flipping closed Venetian blinds. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Caroline Barnes. I am also a new contributor and very, very impressed by all the poems I've heard today. I'm going to read the poem that was published and then one short poem after that. At the Tourist Hotel, 1965. In a city by the ocean, a police station 2 seedy blocks away, where an officer in the juvenile division brings my sister out through a buzzing door and hands our father papers to sign while she stares at her feet or the floor with its cracked and stained tiles, then follows us outside past sailors, bars, tattoo parlors, newspaper stands, all the way to the hotel. Not talking, not crying, not trying to run again. The dim lobby heavy with drapes and cigarette smoke. The clerk in a plaid suit nodding as he is told. One room, one night. And after dinner, my sister and I share a bed, our father alone in the one next to us. In the morning, he opens his wallet, counts the bills with his thumb, and finds them short. He tells her, "Take off your glasses," which she does without a word. Not a sound out of her for 10, maybe 15 minutes as she twists, bends, ducks, tries to shield her face, protect her head. But someone is crying, someone is screaming, until a hard knock on the door and the muffled voice of a hotel detective. "You got 10 minutes to get out." And 10 minutes later, we are in the lobby checkout line, her right eye just starting to swell, her pink welts not yet purpled. And there in that line, for just a few minutes, we look like any other family, vacation over, ready for home. And the other poem is called Watching Undercover Videos at the Farm Animal Rights Conference. It starts with a quote, "I was cured all right, Alex in A Clockwork Orange." The first time I watched with my eyes wide open in the darkest of rooms, it worked all right. After that, meat repulsed me. But the images of slaughter would come back to me at the oddest times. The next year I tried closing my eyes, but listening. Again it helped for another 12 months. But the sounds of slaughter would come back to me, disguised in the screech of tires, in the howling of a neighbor's dog. It was the silence after the sounds that finally made the difference. Just the silence, but only a certain kind of silence, like the one that often follows a long sigh. Thank you.
Wow, Caroline, those are stellar, fabulous poems. Thank you for being here, Caroline, and all of our invited mic readers who are celebrating our spring issue of Sheila-Na-Gig. Lots of new and returning voices in this issue, so I hope you'll check us out. And I hope you'll check out Lane Falcon's Deep Blue Odds, now available from Sheila-Na-Gig Editions. And you can find all of us at Sheila-Na-Gig blog.com. Thank you, everybody.